and just.
Cloud9 are the North American champions.
Wow. Nice one.
Are they going in for this one? Are they going to get it? Fnatic pick up a win.
Ultra rapid fire mode. Oh, look out! Anything can happen.
Oh my God, he got it!
Winning. Toy 6 down the turret.
Houston, lead one more hit. Can he get it? That's a Hexakill!
Welcome on, welcome all. Jason Jackins here on behalf of ESGN TV, joined by, well, the man, the myth, the living legend that is ESGN's very own Sebastian, and a man so magnetic that his personality strips cards of any data on them, meaning that you have to stay 3 feet away from him if you've got your MasterCard on you. That is, of course, Sven Bagger. So, what are we here to do? Well, we are here to recap the LoL All-Stars 2014 event that happened just recently in Paris. Before we do that, though, let's take a look at what we are going to recap throughout the entirety of the show. Of course, it will be a LoL All-Stars recap. We'll have player comments, we'll have a match of the week, of course, some super hot crew news, a Braum spotlight update, and a show match to boot as well. So plenty of content to come your way, but we've also got some great content from day one. I mean, we've got the ultra rapid fire. That's what we're going to be breaking down in just a matter of mere moments here. But before we do that, let's just talk about the event in general. Sebastian, obviously you covered it in German for ourselves at ESGN TV. How did you find the event? Did you enjoy the coverage?
It was a blast. I mean, like, All-Stars is everything that the community wants and needs, and it gets it. I mean, they had perfect teams. They had perfect All-Star teams. Great games, great plays, and overall, I mean, like, the experience being there, I can only imagine. But here from the studio, you can still feel the spirit of the crowd and how awesome it felt.
Yeah, definitely. It was a rabid crowd, to say the least. Now, Sven, obviously you covered it as well as the colour commentator. How did you find the event? Did you enjoy it yourself?
It was amazing. Like, I was actually surprised how good the games were, how much fun it was to talk about it, especially these challenges. They had the potential to be kind of boring, and instead they were the best thing that was possible. Like, all the players had fun doing it. They didn't make it into stale games. They brought out the best champions and just had fun with it. And that's the main thing that mattered. And that's what made the entire event even better.
I mean, you would think that obviously with, you know, ultra rapid fire in there, you know, and some of the other game modes that are in there, it was a bit gimmicky, but it actually did work, didn't it? I mean, it was quite entertaining to watch. I mean, let's start off with the ultra rapid fire right now, ice versus fire. This is where you see the double kill now. Really, the story of this game was Bjergsen, wasn't it? I mean, he was just an absolute
Bjergsen
beast.
was all over the place. Well, the community picked Azrael to be on both teams, and Bjergsen just showed you how AP Azrael can actually erase people from Summoner's Rift, just like that.
I mean, there was no match for him on the field, was there? I mean, at the end of the day, he was just dominant.
There was none. I mean, he played 1v3. He got 3 kills with his left hand only.
Well, I mean, this is what we're going to see right now.
Especially,
so here's Bjergsen's hat trick. The hat trick hero shows
well, double
up.
lift is an easy kill.
Well, here's Archie. I mean, that's not an easy kill by any stretch of the imagination. Mad Life, of course, more known for his hook, but still gets the triple. Absolute monster, man.
It's just the wrong champ for him. I mean, like Lulu, if you play against Azrael, you have those skill shots, and if you don't predict where Azrael goes, where he jumps to, it's kind of hard to do anything. Even the knock-up from the Wild Growth didn't knock up Azrael, so there was nothing he could do. Maybe Blitzcrank next time, silence him with the ult.
Yeah,
that would have been a great
That would have been actually a really solid pick against us, but obviously, you know, hindsight's 20/20, isn't it? So we're going to take a look at the second double kill now, Sven. How important was this second double kill to the guys over on fire here? I mean,
right now, it's just 5-4, and only 3 of those are on Bjergsen. But after he 1v2s in this matchup, it's gone. Like, he doesn't have a blue buff and outplays Archie, who has one. And then Bjergsen can just keep going, and Kaume doesn't stand a chance. It is ridiculous, and Bjergsen just takes him apart, then shoots his true shot barrage across the map.
Drake.
To get Dragon, and it was just the most ridiculous thing ever. And after that, nobody could stand against him anymore.
Yeah, I mean, it's playing against the Ez that he did, and then to take on the Urgot like that, and not only that, have the wherewithal to then put down the true shot barrage as well, just goes to show how great of a player he actually is. I mean, his game sense pretty much second to none in Europe and North America. I mean, there's obviously some Asian players out there who can give him a run for his money from time to time, but I think he's one of the more consistent players out there these days. He's, you know what you're going to get when Bjergsen's playing, don't you?
Definitely, and he's a worthy replacement for Reginald. TSM has never looked stronger with him on the team. I'm kind of looking forward to how they're going to play after the new roster changes, but right now, the lineup that they had was one of the best they ever had.
Yeah, it's solid. I mean, now it's time to take a look at the first of the real games from day one, which will be Fnatic versus OMG, the Chinese powerhouse squad taking on the European Mastodons. What a game it was as well. I mean, the game ebbed and flowed, didn't it, Sebastian? It looked like Fnatic were in with a shot early.
They had a shot to take the game, but there was Ellen.
Yeah.
Ellen pretty much said, nope. Came in with a flay.
You can see exactly here. This
took him apart.
Just beast. Enabled the first blood off the back of that. Obviously, it did go 2-1 to Fnatic, but still, first blood is important. It's a psychological advantage at the end of the day, isn't it?
Definitely, and if you got Nunu in the jungle on Pomelo, which was a huge surprise to everybody. Nobody expected him to play
That's
Nunu.
like Season 1 meta, isn't it, when you think about it?
It's Season 1 and kind of 2, but not current meta. Nobody expected to see Nunu, and he did really,
I mean, we
really
did see,
well
late Season 2, early Season 3, we saw Nunu support. Obviously a bit of bottom lane Nunu, but seeing him back in the jungle, I have to say, I think he's more of a jungle champion.
Well, it's the combination Jinx and Nunu together. Because Jinx, with the Gatling gun, you get the awesome attack speed buff, and with Nunu, the W, you can take towers down so fast. If you swap lanes, the other team can't compare to them.
Yeah. Now, obviously, we did see Fnatic. They were in with a decent shot early game, but that momentum shifted, didn't it? I mean, OMG, once they got control, they were like a rabid bulldog. They did not let go of that control.
Exactly. We could see that Kha'Zix got a double kill in that, and he was not really able to do anything with it. Now, after 16 minutes in this game, he still only has those 2 kills and is almost falling behind in CS, and we can see one hook from Allen turns everything around. A huge initiation with the Shyvana, with the wild growth on everything. Just completely turns it around, and after that, OMG did not let go for 1 more second.
Yeah, I mean, once Soaz was caught out of position, it's not even that he was caught out of position, really. It was just Allen's pull that brought him out of position.
And the exhaust.
And the exhaust as well. That didn't help the cause, obviously. From that point forward, it really did seal the fate of that fight.
And once again, Allen being at the right spot, at the right time. Xpeki, it was not his game, I think. The Nidalee didn't work out that well. There was no real poke, even when they were doing Baron earlier in the game. And he tried to toss one spear after another, and he didn't hit a single one.
Yeah, I mean, the Fresh Express at the end of the day, if used correctly, is fairly OP. But what we see here now is this Baron fight. Obviously, Sven, this was a gutsy move from OMG. They didn't necessarily need to do this at this point, did they? I mean, they had a fairly healthy lead. And as we see, Fnatic do manage to steal the Baron here. But that was kind of just postponing the inevitable, really, wasn't it? I mean,
at this point, I think OMG had the feeling we can end it here. And they wanted to. They wanted to try and just close out the game as quickly as possible, to not stall any longer. There's always the chance that you make mistakes. This was one of them, because they thought, hey, we've got Xpeki, he can't throw any more spears. But then Cyanide comes in with a miracle steal. Didn't think it possible, but he did make it happen. I don't think anyone expected it, but that was the last.
Especially against Nunu.
Exactly.
I mean, but let's be honest, though, the trade was 2 for 0. They picked up a Baron off it, obviously. That's prolonged their actual game. But really, I mean, it was always OMG's game to lose at that point, wasn't it?
Yeah, and it was kind of a desperation move from Fnatic as well to jump in there and still try to get it back somehow, get it back into their grasp. Didn't quite work out well enough, and in the end, OMG just closed it out because they didn't let go anymore. And even though Fnatic had the Baron, they weren't able to do anything with it.
I mean, we obviously, OMG, the way they closed that game, they didn't show any mercy whatsoever, did they? I mean,
You gotta give it to Allen, though. I mean, 20 kills, and he participated in all of them. He got assist or kill, 20 of 20 kills. He's just all over the place, being the perfect support in that game.
Yeah. Having global presence on Fresh, how terrifying is that? Like, anytime you fight, you better believe that he's going to be engaged in it.
It's just like playing against MedLife, I guess.
Pretty much, yeah. I mean, here's the final push that ended the game for OMG. As you can see, Cyanide, he gets caught. Well, not much that he could do. He got the wild growth off, but still, OMG at this point. Once they split the ranks here, you can see that double kill from Jinx. Cyanide was pretty much left all on his lonesome there, and that was basically the final nail in the coffin. If you were Fnatic at that point, I mean, obviously you had that big dragon fight. That was probably the turning point in the game. Could you have done anything differently in that fight to get a different outcome?
Well, that fight, it pretty much came down to Allen being in the right position. There's not much you can do. They split after the hook, like one party went up in the jungle and the other one went around bot lane. That might have been a mistake, maybe better communication at that point, or to even turn it around. I mean, like, there was nothing they could do. The engage was there, maybe just fight.
Exactly, especially against a combination of a Shyvana with a Lulu ultimate in there, and then the Nunu across everything else. Just running doesn't work from that composition, especially with the Nunu Blood Boil on top of a Jinx. She's going to catch up to you. There's nothing you can do against that. She is going to catch you. And then sometimes the best thing to do is turn around, try and take as many of them down with you as possible instead of running away.
Yeah, make it as costly as you can, because you know at that point, if you're on the back foot the way that they were, the best that you can hope for is just to put damage down, I suppose. So obviously OMG victorious, commiserations to Fnatic. We're now going to move on to the second game from day one, the second real game that is. That will be SKT taking on
Not
Cloud9.
the second game, but the last.
The last game, but yeah,
One
the
of the highlights.
second real game, because the Ultra Rapid Fire was just about, for my money, shits and giggles at the end of the day, whereas SKT versus Cloud9, that is a game of international
And
class,
this is one of the moments which I think is awesome. I personally play support, and being able to dive 2 against 1, taking out balls and not dying to him. I'm like, Pumandu got the execute on himself, not giving a kill, not giving assist, not giving anything. And Piglet got the blue buff, he got the first blood. It's all you need as ADC.
Yeah, and it also set him up for the actual, the XP off the lane, and
Definitely.
completely unopposed for about 30 seconds, which
And the
you
first
cannot give
tower.
Piglet that kind, and the first tower, yeah. I mean, you can't give Piglet that level of control over your actual bottom lane, because he will punish you late game for it, and that's kind of what we started to see, wasn't it? I mean, Piglet, once he stepped his game up, he was nigh on unstoppable, wasn't he?
That Piglet-Pumandu combination with Zyra and Vayne was demolishing Cloud9 for the entire remainder of the game. They didn't stand a chance. Every time they did try to fight, Zyra was there. Zyra took them out, and then with Vayne on top of that, Cloud9 just didn't have an answer. They had nothing.
I mean, what could they do though at that point? Once Piglet gets rolling like that, I mean, he's much like
you can't let it happen.
Yeah, I mean that's the only way, isn't it? You've got to neutralize him early game. You got to take care of him. I mean,
But it's not
what
only
we see
Piglet.
right now
I
is
mean, like, Impact was so confident at there. It's like, yeah, I'm just gonna finish the tower. I don't care about the teleport. I don't care about Trundle balls. Who's that guy? Just gonna take out the tower and then walk away like nothing happened. And that's where things took its turn. I mean, like SKT, they were ahead. They done great, even if they lost some kills, pickoffs. They had the wanted in gold and great team fight potential. And now you see Faker just predicting where Sneaky would be on Twitch, even putting down the pink ward at the same time, jumping over and killing him. That's just top-notch mechanics, isn't it, Sven?
At the end, Faker is just someone you cannot fight against. He's shown throughout the entire tournament such a deep champion pool as well. Like, nobody can ban him out, and he doesn't care. Even if he gets camped super, super hard, he'll go even at worst. Like, he'll never lose the lane. And that's something in a mid laner that these days is just immense.
#1 worldwide.
I'd say so. Because not only can you not ban him out, but he's so good that he consistently crushes some of the mid laners and even makes some of the best in the world go, what just happened? And when you've got that in a mid laner, it's just a level above the others.
And a great jungler to back you up. I mean, Bangi, they work as a unit.
And he's always there to back him up.
Yeah, I mean, at the end of the day, it's nice to have that versatility in your actual champion pool as well, because SKT, let's be honest, I mean, a lot of their plays are based around what Faker can bring to the table. And as we saw, he didn't disappoint. So we're going to move on to day 2 now, the first of the games from day 2.
Hexakill.
Obviously, Hexakill. I mean, now Hexakill, another game mode like Ultra Rapid Fire. How do you find Hexakill? Because I'm not necessarily the biggest Hexakill fan, to be honest.
I was really split in half when it comes to Hexakill, because at the one hand, it's a normal game, just one more player. And the potential of what their one player can do was vague. I personally did not think it would be that much of a great game, but having 2 jungles on each side made it being action-packed as nothing else. They just constantly ganked everywhere, and then MadLife started roaming even, leaving double lift on the bot lane, farming, and just got kills all over the place.
I mean, is there anything more nightmarish than the fact that, in Hexakill, it gives MadLife the ability to just, pack up and basically piss off and go and show up on whatever lane he wants? And there's nothing scarier than having that hook land and being dragged back by a player his caliber, because you know at that point you're being punished for it.
Definitely. I'm kind of disappointed that we did not see Blitzcrank on him, because the roaming potential of Blitzcrank is even greater with the W speed up, and you get like boots of mobility. You're just all over the place, and there's no getting away.
But late game fresh. I mean, once he gets those souls, especially in a play like MadLife, I think it's you could argue for either. I would have liked to have seen maybe a second Hexakill game that saw Blitz, just to see him on Blitz, like you say. But next year, most definitely. Yeah, we got to start lobbying for that. So Sven, obviously the Hexakill game, how did you find it? I mean, was that to your liking at the end of the day?
It had the potential to be super boring. Like, if they had picked Ziggs and Orianna and just farmed their way through the entirety of the game, it could have been a 50-minute farm fest, but instead they picked champions that could get kills. And they had the almost triple jungle with MadLife at the end of the day.
So here's a question for you then. How much of that do you think is on the players, knowing that they have to be showmen at the end of the day? Because I mean, they know that they've got to put entertaining games on, especially when the game doesn't really mean that much, like you know the first games of the day do.
I think that mattered a lot. Like I think the players knew it's all for fun. We want to entertain everyone. We're going to pick champions that we feel comfortable on, that we feel we're going to have fun with.
I mean, that's probably my favorite thing about the All-Stars event. It has a very like Harlem Globetrotters feel to it, where it's it's like it feels like a special attraction as opposed
to do whatever the hell we want.
As opposed to any regular LCS week or whatever. Exactly. It does feel special. That's one of the reasons why. Now, Sebastian, obviously, we're going to move over to the next game now.
The first real game.
But after this, actually, we're going to show you some more clips from
MedLife once again, the hook,
Yeah.
like max range, just annihilating Bjergsen. Perfect play by Archie, though. I mean, like, even though the team, the All-Star team, Ice and Fire are both internationally, and not all of them speak English, the communication seemed to work.
Yeah, I mean, at the end of the day, these players play so much that it's almost telepathic. They know what needs to be done and when it needs to be done. So
it's like solo queue, just with 5 guys instead of 6.
And the 5 guys actually know what they're doing and they won't flame you, which is I imagine real nice,
Definitely, and even if they flame, you don't understand them.
That's true, yeah. So Sven, obviously, you were quite impressed with the Hexakill. Would you like to see it return in regular client or?
It would be fun. I mean, as far as I know, the next fun mode we're going to get is one for all Mer mode. So you're going to have 10 of the same champion on one map, which is already going to be ridiculous. Imagine 10 Zeds at the same time.
Confusing.
On something like Howling Abyss, and there are just shadows everywhere, or 10 Timas. Imagine the Shroom Forest.
Oh god, I'd have
Stuff
a nervous
like that is going to be awful.
Yeah, I could see me having a nervous breakdown playing that game mode. So let's move on to the first real game of day 2. That was, of course, SKT versus OMG. The Korean powerhouse taking on the Chinese super squad of OMG. I mean, it's a rematch of the finals at the end of the day.
It's a pre-match of the finals. It's a preview of how it's going to be. We already said it during the analysis. But this is still Ice and Fire.
Yeah, I think we're gonna cue the next clip up. But let's. I mean, the Ice and Fire game. It was obviously another All-Star game at the end of the day.
QTV was so sure he's gonna get that kill on Cool.
And you can see the result of that.
Poor guy.
I mean, anytime you got MedLife around like that, you cannot take for granted. So obviously, with that result, I mean, we did see a fairly even game of Hexakill, to be quite honest. I mean, I expected it to be a blowout because those games usually do tend to, those game types usually do tend to snowball quicker than regular 5v5. Didn't happen in this game, so we did see a relatively entertaining and closely matched game. I think largely in part because the players knew exactly what was going down, and they went out of the way to try and make it as entertaining as possible.
Yeah. Especially for Messiah and Toys, both play top-notch, and a chance to compete in an international event like that. I think that's great.
Especially for the last time. Yeah, both of them said it's going to be the last time, or most likely the last time, they could have competed in such an international setting, and they made it count.
Such a stage.
Yeah, they made it count.
So moving on now, it's going to be SKT versus OMG, and like I said, I mean, a battle of the true powerhouse squads. You could argue, number 1 and number 2 in the world at this point.
First Nami in a professional game for a long time, and they played it out perfectly. Alan, not only his Thresh is convincing, but his Nami play won the early game on bot lane. It fell off as soon as Leona hit level 6. But I prefer Nami. I love Nami. It's my favorite champ, to be honest, and he played it perfectly.
Yeah, I mean, if you land a good double bubble, that sets up a double bubble.
Double bubble.
Yeah, it's quite nice to say a double bubble. But if you do manage, and we did see some good double bubbles as well.
Definitely.
If you do manage to land that, then obviously, it sets up a decent amount of damage off the back of it. And we saw that time and time again. So we'll take a look at exactly what Faker did here. I mean, obviously, Faker's number 1 fanboy, Sven here. I mean, with Bengi picking up that kill to going, it did set up Faker here, didn't it?
It did, and he just dodges everything, or rather, everything is missed on him. He jumps back and forth, survives everything, and then the rest of SKT just jumps back in a little too early. Faker flashes even after dodging the bubble.
But
you can see it in just a second.
Flashes into them.
Exactly, and then gets killed for free. It was a bit early.
But he got the slowdown on the team.
And then Leona gets
the rest
double.
of the crew came along to clean up.
I was going to say, it was the damage that he did whilst kiting that was the big thing. I mean, you can see it here after, there's the kick. There's obviously the Ziggs ulti coming in, but yeah, Pomelo here, he was just, once he was cut off, I mean, he was still chasing.
This is one great moment. He catches the Q of Xiang, so Bengi can escape and actually come back. Now he's 1v3, dodging everything, auto-harassing even, and now the team comes Impact from top lane, and they turn it around.
Yeah.
You don't see plays like that often. It's impressive.
And that's exactly the problem. Like, yes, Nami on the bot lane did really, really well for OMG, And because of that, the bot lane of OMG was constantly ahead, but the rest of their team didn't do too well. Like, Faker in mid lane demolished Xiang on that Orianna against the Ziggs, just straight up won the lane, period. And then top lane went for SKT as well.
He did not perform well. I mean, like, Impact is a beast, especially on Trundle. We've seen him a lot of times, and he played just out of his mind.
I mean, the pillar of filth that he was landing, just absolutely dirty stuff. It was, you know, one of those things where anytime that pillar of filth popped up, you better believe it was for a reason. It wasn't just popped for the sake of it. It was always used at, you know, the point of, you know, being maximally effective. And, well, capitalised on it to full effect, didn't it?
That's the thing you have to practice, I guess. It's just like a skill shot in some sort, like a Nivea wall.
Yeah, it's exactly like the Nivea wall. Now, let's take a look at how Pomelo dies here, because this is a key moment in the game. Piglet just picking up a kill before this, but I mean, as you can see, the Lee Sin chasing this down. There's the Q that landed, and Faker finishes it off, just absolute beast mode.
And that opens up Baron for them. They got the support, and they got the jungle. That's all they need to have a two-man advantage over OMG. And these little things, these little pickoffs are so important, especially in the Asian scene. They take every advantage they can get and just push. Just take objectives or even kill more people. OMG would have tended to chase the other down and like get an ace.
Yeah, whereas
but
SKT,
they was like, okay, we got two-man advantage.
Yeah.
Let's use that to get an objective easily.
And that's exactly what they did, isn't it, Sven? I mean, once they pushed that objective, the momentum of the game really did switch to SKT, didn't it?
And at that point, OMG had no chance anymore. The communication from SKT is just so spot on every time. They say, hey, we're getting a catch here, Lee Sin, kick him back because Faker, I'm right next to you, can kill him off, and then we can do Baron. And everyone responds.
So the terrifying thing about that is as well, I can almost guarantee it wasn't even mentioned for the kick.
Exactly.
It just would have been something that came natural to them. I mean, after
They
thousands of
notice.
hours playing together at this point, they know exactly what they should be doing at any one given point, and it's the proof's in the pudding at the end of the day. The fact that, you know, that kick managed to land, and it was a perfect kick. I mean, it set Faker up, didn't put him close enough to actually, you know, return damage as well. So it's not like he kicked him into the path of Faker. He kept him at arm's length of Faker, and then we saw the conversion on the kill. It's just, you know, and then not only the conversion, like you pointed out so justly, they then capitalised on the kill. Not by making any kind of crazy pushes, by going for the most pertinent thing on the map, taking the Baron.
Exactly. And it's non-verbal communication between these players. They know automatically, hey, this is our chance. Hey, we can do Baron. Let's go. The entire team instantly converges, and that's why SKT is so powerful. I don't think they need to talk a lot during the games, just because they're so practiced.
At this point, it does seem like it is pretty much natural for them. So now we're going to take a look at Cloud9 versus OMG. That was a game of North America versus China, of course, bit of a grudge match. But yeah, I have to say, Cloud9, obviously the perennial, you know, North American favourites. They have a decent, well, maybe TSM probably have a bigger fan base than Cloud9, but still, arguably the best North American team. I mean, Sebastian, what did you think Cloud9 chances were coming into this game?
Oh, I said it was an OMG game, and I was right in the end. I personally have to say that I did not expect C9 to play that well, but in the end they got Twitch, and Twitch made a lot of difference in the whole tournament. I mean, Sneaky is just an outstanding player on Twitch. He adapted to the new meta really, really fast. He knew Twitch is the champ to go. If I have the backup like a Morgana or a Leona or a Thresh, it's an easy matchup for me, and you can just see him perfectly positioning, getting the kills easily, a double at 14 minutes, and at the same time, incredible farm.
Yeah. I mean, you saw Alan there, he had absolutely no way out of that, so it was always going to be the double. But I mean, despite the bottom lane, it still didn't go exactly the way that Cloud9 would have hoped, would it? I mean, Sven, obviously we saw Cloud9 from that point forward after the double kill, they really started to struggle, didn't they?
It was hard. Like, OMG got a couple of kills, and then they were in their comfort zone again, where they did have enough gold to then force objectives down, and they were far enough ahead to take the wins in teamfights simply based on brute strength. They didn't need to outplay their opponents, they just needed to kill them.
Yeah.
And that's what OMG is super good at.
I mean, the objective control, here's a prime example of it, was absolutely second to none here from OMG. Again, much like against Fnatic here, they managed to just focus one target, and they get off a couple of really good spells that increases the damage potential.
Definitely, but here you can see Sneaky. As soon as they saw Sneaky coming in, doing AoE with his ult, it was just running. OMG was like, oh my god, we can't compete this.
Yeah, yeah. I mean, that is the great equalizer at the end of the day. But as we saw, I mean, over time, that became less and less of a factor for Cloud9. And really sneaky. I mean, he brought his A game to the table, but it just wasn't enough at the end of the day, was it?
Well, he got a great, I mean, Twitch with the Q, but if the Rune King is a perfect assassin. He just goes in, slows you down, gets the movement speed buff, does a ton of damage, and with the no longer expunge, but contaminate, which is a great name.
It's better than
I have to say, it's like even if you get
there.
away low life, he can just contaminate or expunge, and if that doesn't kill you, the poison stacks will. There's no getting away.
Yeah, I mean, once he does lock down on a target like that, like you say, it is exceptionally hard to get away. Now, after that dragon fight, Sven, obviously we saw, well, here you go, top lane being pushed, the inhibitor taking pressure from Cloud9, but OMG, I mean, despite being down 6 kills, they weren't exactly on the back foot here. I mean, they still managed to get off a really good engagement, didn't they?
Which is ridiculous because they're 15,000 gold behind, but they're focusing the right targets. But Sneaky, taking out the Orianna, Leona goes down, and at this point they just don't have a chance anymore because there are so many super minions as well.
Yeah, you just saw Lamination Morgana, the binding, that did like half-life damage on Sun. She went for a Rabadance. She had so much gold due to all the assists by Sneaky and the rest of the team that he bought a Rabadance. He went full AP and was like a second mid laner for the game, and that's one of the things that won the game for C9.
Yeah. I mean, we're going to take now a look at the pick 10, the Fire and Ice match from day 3. That was again another one of these. I didn't really have high hopes. I mean, I thought they were going to be gimmick matches, but they were exceptionally entertaining. I mean, if you know, I was kind of in and out throughout the day watching the German coverage from you guys. What I saw of the pick 10, I have to say, I was quite impressed with Sven. I mean, you're obviously one of those guys who does play a lot of different modes inside the game. How do you find pick 10? You think it's something that we could see potentially coming into the client more often?
I don't really think so. I was surprised that we had such standard champions, and at the same time, not really. But what could have been cool was a full ice versus fire team. Like, imagine Anivia, Trundle, Sejuani, Ashe on top of that, and give me a 5th one.
Trundle.
Already had Trundle.
I already had Trundle.
Sorry.
That's why. And a 5th ice champion, I know there is one. Against a full fire match with like Brand, Annie, Shyvana. Lissandra was the 5th one. That's it. That could have been really cool. Instead, we had lots of these standard champions like Froggen on his Anivia, Doublelift on his Vayne, Madlife on the Thresh, but they showed up big. Like, again, it had the potential to be boring, but instead these players had fun with it, went with it, and made it into a super entertaining game.
Yeah, I mean, that's the thing at the end of the day. I mean, but stick out a multi-kill here, you can see just how much fun they actually did have with it. Obviously, Fire here, setting up for the blue, but Ice coming over. Froggen's Anivia, he's just a beast on Anivia. On Anivia. I mean, no wall as of yet here, but as you can see, Shy does manage to get off a good pull, pulls cool out of position.
It wasn't a good game for Bjergsen after all. I mean, like, he had this great Z skin, but it doesn't give him anything. He just didn't perform well. And Madlife once again, great positioning, great hooks, opening up so many opportunities for the team.
After being the king in the first match in Earth, this time around he was Burger King feeding the entire enemy team. That was really his job in this one. He just died over and over again. And then Froggen with a super fun build. Like a Magi's and a Warmogs is not something you see every day.
Sunfire.
And Sunfire. I was about to point out the Sunfire really did take me by surprise. So,
and at the end of the game, he had the 20 stacks on the Magi's. Like it was a fully stacked Magi's. He didn't even have boots 2. He ran around with boots 1 and was everywhere and got the kills. And that's ridiculous. On an Anivia, geez,
he had a great team to back him up. I mean, even if they lose like the early engages, the early trades, lose Doublelift here to Bjergsen, which was a decent play, I guess. Oh, too shy. He just comes in after 2 people die and cleans up.
you can see, I mean,
Great positioning.
Diamond coming through
First
with the
Q
goods
he
as well.
missed, but now there's Froggen. Froggen just coming in, erasing Diamond in a few seconds. Wei Zhao falls. That Q was perfect. To the side while still auto-hitting Diamond. It's a perfect play. And the wall in between both of the teams, like the minions were across it, he left a little way open to either he would walk around it or he would jump. Either way, Froggen could walk around it easily, so he doesn't block his own way, which is, you have to think about it while doing it. It's instinct, I guess.
I was going to say that's the thing. I don't think he did think about it. It just comes naturally to him after, if you've ever seen his stream, I mean, it's not like Anivia is a new champion to him.
Not really.
He's put his hours in on Anivia, so
He's
I'm not
playing
surprised.
Anivia in LCS. So.
True, but on his stream he does play quite a bit of Anivia, so it's not something that surprises me that he knew how to do that instinctively as well. Now here we go,
That
here's them going deep
dive.
again. Yeah,
Wow.
I mean, that Lee Sin play, that's just what you've got to be careful of. That was not quite insect level, but still, definitely up there. Now, Diamond, obviously, he's forced out of the fight at this point. His counterpart, Lee Sin, well...
And 2 ADCs on the team, Vayne and Lucian just doing work. There's not much you can do. And there you go, 26 on Anivia. Majas finishing the game after a little more than 30 minutes. It wasn't one-sided at all. It was really close during most of the time, but as soon as they had the big team fights and Frong came in, it was like...
35 to 14 doesn't look quite as close, but for the longest time it was, because people got picked on both sides. But whenever, as you said, the big team fights then did decide it in the end.
Definitely.
And I mean, you could see, Wei Xiao just got deleted by the Lucian ult there at the end.
Absolutely just melted. He looked like a glass cannon. And it's not like his build was particularly bad, it was just obviously straight OP.
When you have a double AD carry on the enemy team, you're not going to live long, no matter what you built. Like,
I mean, even if you go full mail, you're still going to drop really quickly.
Against a Lucian and Vayne, not a chance.
Nothing you can do at that point.
And
so we're going to move on to day 3 real quickly, which obviously, you know, the first real game from day 3 was Cloud9 versus OMG. Again, you know, North America's perennial #1 team taking on China's #1 team. Quarterfinal, as you...
No, semifinal. Semifinal already, and a best of 3. So whatever team comp they played in the next game, there's a new one. We're going here, getting dive. Good first blood for Meteos. Great gank, in my opinion. A little late, I mean like 10 minutes, the first blood. Usually see it a little earlier.
The current meta, it's usually about 7 minutes that you would normally see it, but...
7 to 8 minutes.
Yeah, I mean, Meteos is quite
tower.
a patient jungler, though, and I will say this about him, he's a very smart jungler. So he's not going to force the issue until he knows he's absolutely in a position where he can do something. That red buff really did enable that top lane gank. Now, as you can see here, Link chasing down Xiang on mid, yeah. Not much that really could be done in that situation. I mean, obviously, we did see an engagement and then disengage after that. But with that first blood comes the psychological advantage, and it really did set them up, didn't it?
Usually. But I think OMG is one of the teams that remains calm and focused and tries to play safe. That's their key point. Play safe, and when you get an advantage, like getting a pick or getting an objective, they just chase through it.
I mean, that has always been the knock against Chinese MOBA at the end of the day, hasn't it? That they, I mean, more so in Dota, that they tend to turtle up and farm a lot. But OMG definitely are one of those teams that realise when they're on the back foot and they know how to come back from a, what is an uphill struggle at the end of the day, don't they?
Definitely.
And the interesting statistic actually for the All-Stars is the team that got first blood only won 36% of the games. So actually, in the end, the psychological effect is, hey, we've got to be more careful now, we've got to watch out and play this by the book. And that's what OMG did. They calmed down.
You could almost accuse Cloud9 of perhaps, I wouldn't say being cocky, but perhaps a little bit too overconfident, maybe.
Maybe, especially after they won the game against OMG the time before.
Yep.
And this time around, it didn't work out for them. Like, after this, they've got the early advantage, but they weren't able to convert it into
But their
the win.
first matchup did not count. I mean, both of them were secure in the semifinals. So they played a little around, I guess, to test out the strategies, the calls, when people
Why are you going to pull out your best picks when you know you're already through at the end of the day? I mean, seeding wasn't that important to either of them either. I mean, it's not like we're talking about a double England tournament or anything like that. So
but the early advantage didn't work out for them. Because Alan had Thresh.
Yeah, as you can see here, there you go, speak of the devil. Alan lands that hook, pulls Link back. This is where we see the Stranglethorns go down, but it was completely ineffectual, really. I mean, Going had the wild growth on him anyway, so it didn't do any damage.
And that was the worst thing. Positioning of Sneaky in that fight. He fought Sun on the bot lane, while the rest of his team were transitioning more over to red jungle. So he was totally separated, and as soon as OMG saw that, they moved over. They put a flock between them both.
He was kind of like the proverbial fainting goat at the end of the day. I mean, once he was cut off like that, I think they really did realise, yeah, he's kind of screwed, let's just leave him.
Yeah,
but they still managed to go up a second kill on Lemon Nation.
Definitely, but he blew up all his cooldowns to get Sun. Zone Sun, tried to kill him, but then things turned around. The rest of his team kind of lost. So he had to turn around, had no cooldowns, only his ult, and the damage just didn't work out because everybody else was out of the game, kind of.
Yeah. He should have been with his team in that fight at the beginning. He should have been with his team to try and do more damage, and then we see OMG just taking complete control 9-4 at this point. And there's really not much Cloud9 can do anymore.
Well, there is one thing they can do here. I mean, we do see a Baron fight right now. This is where...
That dodging.
Yeah, I mean, it's just OMG at the end of the day, just too OP. But I mean, this was an opportunity here for Cloud9. I mean, Baron obviously, it's not a big differential at this point. You're only looking at a 1,000 gold difference. But I mean, at the end of the day, once OMG did manage to pick up that Baron, this is kind of where we saw the Fight Lady come out to the stage. I mean, they did a good job of disengaging, getting out as well. Exceptional Baron play at the end of the day.
You might say that at the same time, it's the famous Game of Throws from NA, playing Baron. I mean, like, everyone was up. It was a 5v5, more like a 5v6 because C9 had Baron in their back. And they got a pick, but only one, and that was the problem. Everybody was so low, but still got away. If they could have gone with like 2 picks, or 3 at most, it would have been their game.
Yeah,
but they did not do that.
They didn't convert basically, and you know what? That's largely in part because Cloud9 at the end of the day, they don't necessarily come up against the Chinese meta on a regular basis, do they?
No, I don't think they were ready for what they were facing at the end. Like the way that OMG played the game down was very different from what Cloud9 is used to, and they keep saying this is their problem. They don't have teams they can practice against properly that bring out new strategies against them, so they're never fully prepared.
Yeah.
But in the end, that's what makes a great team. Like
They
SKT
always seem
isn't
to be playing a game of
against
catch-up
EU
at the
and
end of the
NA.
day. I mean, even in Europe, we're playing a game of catch-up
Yeah.
against the Chinese and obviously South Koreans. Yeah, it'd be impressive if North Koreans join the league.
And they
But-
really tried to pull out the split push jacks, and it didn't work out at all.
No, it did not. I mean, they got punished for that extremely badly as
And
well.
this is
now.
one funny level 1 fight.
Yeah, I was gonna say, this
C9
is-
knows they're in there, and they still go in. Bolts get hooked, but the damage on Gogang is just insane, and I still can't believe he got away.
Yeah, I mean, that flash,
like-
that was just a clutch flash at the end of the day. That's
and the rest
really-
of the team blocking everything that comes their way. They put a meat shield between Going and C9, and it worked out perfectly.
But in the end, I think that was also a partial mistake by Link. He had already skilled the shield, so he wasn't able to provide any extra damage. And if he had the dissonance, or the command attack, that may have been enough damage to take out Going.
At the very least, it would have been a disruption that would have maybe broke the momentum that
Exactly.
enabled the flash. So.
And I mean, in the end, this was a 5v4. That's why Cloud9 knew they could go in there. They had eyes on Xiang in the mid lane, and that's the only reason why this didn't go badly for them. I think if Xiang had been with his team and landed the bomb at the very beginning, this could have turned south pretty quickly.
But they kind of lost their 2 flashes for C9 and only 1 for MG, and now we see a Drake fight that did not go too well. Once again, Allen, perfect on Sneaky. He's just dead meat.
Yeah, and after that, it's a free dragon as well. Like, Sneaky wasn't in the best spot, and then against a flash flay from Allen, once again, then followed up by the hook. It's just nothing.
I was about to point out that
Literally
flay
a death
was
sentence.
just
The flay was
absolutely
beautiful.
monster. I mean, that was what enabled that whole Drake fight to go the way of OMG at the end of the day. And Allen's fresh play again. I mean, how can you not ban fresh when you're playing against Allen at this point?
The problem is there are so many other things that you have to ban out as well. Like, you have to use one ban on the Syndra from Xiang because he's a monster on that one. Then you've got to ban away the Thresh for Ellen.
Yeah.
Pretty much the Shyvana top, and Pomelo has so many other options as well with his Pantheon that he brought out and was really strong, and especially in the semifinal.
Nunu.
The Nunu.
Yeah, I was going to say he's Nunu as well. I mean, obviously.
There are so many things that Cloud9 just couldn't keep up with.
Yeah. I mean, do you think at the end of the day it boils down to, a combination of things, meta, champion picks, or do you think it's just the overall package that OMG bring to the table? I tend to believe that they are, as close to a complete team outside of Korea that you can actually get.
Well, this scene just comes down to positioning, and OMG got the better positioning without a doubt, and perfect engages. Great communication and a lot of kills. If you compare OMG to the Korean scene, I think they're mid-tier to top tier. They're not at the top, definitely not, because SKT right now is not at the top, or was at least.
Yeah, you can always make an argument that Nigen are up there as well, and there's always that shuffle and change at the
Definitely.
top of the Korean scene. What I will say about OMG though is they do tend to make Europe and North America look, well, like they've only just opened the client basically.
That's a bit harsh, but yeah, in the
it's
end,
harsh,
that's what
but
happens.
it's true. I mean,
Yeah.
when a game rolls past 15 minutes and you're playing against OMG, you better believe that. I mean, prime example here again, you got Allen and Sam pushing in. That Grand Skyfall coming in just to break the momentum of Sneaky here. There's no way he can defend those towers at this point. Just superior positioning throughout the whole teamfight stage.
Look at Sun.
Just chilling in the back line. He's like, guess what? You take a step off that pad, this is going to hurt you, and you're not going to get to do anything at all. And that pillar of filth was, you know, it was nice from Balls there, but it wasn't enough to really keep them in the game.
And
was it?
great kiting here by Sun. I mean, like, going back and forth, getting the life steal on, not dying to Trundle's ult. It's not that easy. It might have looked easy, but it's definitely not, I can tell you.
That's the thing. I mean, it's made to look easy by them, but like you say,
superior
it really
mechanics.
Yeah.
And I don't even think that Europe and NA really lost due to the champion picks and bans. It was a part of why they were weaker.
The first step.
But I think that especially on personal mechanics, they're lacking. On overall objective focusing, they lack a lot of focus.
Teamwork.
They're just too
is the
slow.
key.
It's the teamwork,
yeah,
but it's
that's
not just the teamwork though. It's also the individual skill.
Yeah, it's definitely when you've got players like Alan out there on Fresh who understands like that flash fly. I mean, that is a
Time and
prime
again.
example of understanding the mechanics of Fresh.
And
at
Sand with
the
Twitch.
basis level. Yeah, and Sand with Twitch as well, like you said. I mean, if you're coming from Cloud9 at this point, what can you actually do to even to get that level? Because I mean, they don't have any competition in North America really that can bring that level of, not even that level, that style of play.
LMQ.
Try and fight internationally. Make scrims with Korean teams. I think that could really help them, and there's been talk of going over to OGN Winter for the next season, which would, I think, improve the abilities of Cloud9 immensely.
Okay, let's move on to day 3 now. We will see Fnatic versus SKT. Another great matchup, I have to say. I mean, the actual teams just stacked with talent. SKT, of course, heavy favourites coming to this game, Sven. Did you anticipate Fnatic putting up any kind of resistance here? Or?
This is a beautiful game.
I expected they could try, but in the end, they used so much, especially in this fight. We can see they try to make a trap with 3 people. Piglet all by himself. Finally, Pumandu comes by as well. But even if they gained any advantages, it was never good enough. Like, they were never able to take anything because Piglet is just so good. Gets a stealth at just the right moment, manages to escape. Only Pumandu dies, and at this point, Yasuo and Lee Sin are coming in, and then it all turns around again.
I was just about to point this out, the fact that we do see the Lee Sin show up, there's the kick over the wall.
Faker.
And there's Faker who's also showing up on time.
And Piglet is still there. He just picked up a kill on Morgana. Like, he didn't even go up because he knew he could stay around. He knew that he could be there for his team, and the rest of his team would show up in time to help him. And that's, once again, the ridiculous communication.
He even gets a triple kill.
Exactly.
Yeah, a double kill to finish it up as well. I mean, that's just... Was it
Triple.
Oh, it was a triple.
was a
Just didn't
triple.
credit the
He
triple?
even got
Okay.
Kale.
He even got killed. And that's
Getting
what happens.
ganked by 3 people.
Exactly.
And
They make a
still
trap.
turning it around. I mean, that just shows the class at the end of the day, doesn't it?
Yeah. And that's exactly what I mean. Like, escaping a 3-person trap on an AD carry like Twitch that doesn't really have any escape mechanics, doesn't have a dash, doesn't have a jump, only has a stealth at some point, and to use it perfectly, then juke backwards into the bush and then not leave, but
Wait
instead
for
have
your
the
team.
confidence to wait around until the rest of the team shows up, then take everyone down is just ridiculous.
And
at this point-
positioning was a great.
I mean, let's see SKT here. This is going to be a nice multi-kill for them. This is, again, I mean, the 9-2 up at this point. They started to extend that goal lead as well. The pressure being applied here, and really Fnatic didn't have anything that they could really respond with, did they, Sebastian?
Well, they thought they could have got an easy pick on Faker here, but he baited in pretty much, and then the rest of SKT were there. Superior communication, I already said it, and teamwork. They reacted like a unit, came there, and just annihilated Fnatic in a situation that looked in favor of Fnatic, to be honest.
I mean, to be that deep in Fnatic's own jungle as well, and to be able to control in the way that they did, that's just indicative of a team that at the end of the day has that it factor, isn't it? I mean, they do have that sort of, that je ne sais quoi, that you can't put your finger on why they are so good. I mean, it's you know, at the end of the day, it does boil down to hours and hours and hours in the Korean scene at the top levels, but just little things like that. I mean, we saw obviously the bottom lane hanging around, you know, waiting as long as possible, and then we see just the control over jungle, and that was with minimal wall placement as well. That's a terrifying thing.
And I think SKT has a good read on their opponents. That's why they're so good, why they're so perfect. And we see Faker 1v4 at this point, and he's going to pick up the double kill, gets Morgana first, and then expect it after the intervention is already down. And when one person can 1v4 the enemy team and still pick up 2 kills, it's just, I don't want to say a loss, but pretty damn close to that.
It's pretty sickening. I mean, it just shows Faker's skills at the end of the day. I mean, he has skills to pay the bills, and that's evidenced by the fact he picked up a 2-man in a 4-man engagement on a 4-on-1. It should have been, really, he should have got off 1 queue.
Yeah.
And to
then
back
died.
that off, he got Piglet on Twitch, who was super fat at that time.
Yeah.
just cleaned up after Faker got 2 kills.
And they made it look easy at the end of the day, and that's, you know, against Fnatic as well. I mean, you watch them in Europe, they look like a dominant team. Put them against the likes of SKT though, and they look like, you know, the proverbial red-headed stepchild who's about to be beaten.
Even the match against C9 was looking really close until C9 closed it up, which was good. They just showed a better performance and better teamwork and communication. But this is just one-sided in the end.
Yeah. But I think that's due to the playstyle of Fnatic. They always rely on we're getting early kills, we're converting that into mid-game picks.
I mean, how much of that is down to playing against SKT though? It almost forces your hand to do something outside of the box.
But it's the same playstyle from Fnatic in every single game, and you could see it in this entire tournament. Also against TPA, the match that was deciding whether they would even get into the semifinal. They had a huge lead. They were 20,000 gold ahead, but couldn't close the game until they got the pick. Like, that's the only game plan they have. And when you have someone like SKT that reads that and baits you with a single person that looks as if they're by themselves, like Faker in that jungle, and then have the rest of the team close by to back them up, it doesn't work. And that's how Fnatic just loses every single game.
Well, time now to look at game 2 in the best-of-3 series between SKT and Fnatic. And as you can see, Xpeke, well, he was caught with his pants around his ankles on mid. A good flash, gets him over the wall, does manage to escape, but only into the path of impact. Yeah. That's kind of, I mean, how frustrating is that for a player the caliber of Xpeke to pull off a flash like that, to not fail flash and then to just give up the kill to Nidalee spear like that?
Well, I mean, they ganged 3-man mid. He almost got away. Then comes Impact from top lane, just like, hello, there's more of us.
Just casual.
And then Faker just flash spears him to pick up the easy first blood. Well, kind of easy. The question here is, was it worth it? Because, I mean, like, losing so many summoner spells on so many champs only to get first blood and to kill the mid laner, you have to calculate that. I personally would say in the end it was worth, because SKT, if they pick up first blood, they have a 100% winning
Plus,
rate.
it went to Nidalee as well. I mean, that first blood to Nidalee is a fairly big deal.
Definitely. Nidalee has a pretty weak early laning if she doesn't land those spears until she gets level 6. Especially against a Lulu, which can auto-res all the time. This was a beautiful gank by Soros. I really like that play, but Xpeke did not hit his glitter lance, and there was no connection, so in the end, Faker got away.
Yeah, I mean, at the end of the day, you cannot let Faker just get out of those situations, can you? I mean, you have to, if given the chance, you cannot look that gift horse in the mouth. You cannot let him escape. And that's really, I mean, we saw that time and time again throughout the All-Stars, didn't we? Faker is probably the most slippery character in the whole of the scene. If you can't put, you know, your grubby mitts on him, you better believe that he's going to come back and punish you for that. And that's exactly what we saw, isn't it?
And he always plays champions that have a sort of escape as well. Like a dash, a jump, something to get out of the danger zone. And that's exactly what he played once again with Nidalee. He jumps under his own tower, flashes after that, jumps again, and is safe. And there's nothing the enemy team can do. Both Lee Sin and Lulu flashed, and they were still not in range. Yeah. And it's just ridiculous.
I mean, Faker, obviously a Kenny Loggins fan, he spent a lot of time in the danger zone. So we're going to look now at the next clip coming up. Obviously,
the Drake fight.
The Drake fight, yeah. This is really SKT just, you know, proving the metal again. I mean, they are just the objective team for my money.
Yeah, but I think this was a great engage and a great call by Fnatic. Going in, Cyanide, zoning Faker, doing the right thing at the right time, and being together. Now bot lane comes in from beneath, kinda. Piglet, and there's Pumandu, but Xpeke is being kept alive so long and does so much damage over that time. Piglet switched targets too early, if you ask me.
Yeah, I mean, it wasn't a good trade for Piglet, though, to be honest. I mean, he did manage to pick up 1 kill out of that engagement, but it was a 2-for-1 engagement, and they lost blue as well. So, you know, it's at the end of the day, it did work in Fnatic's favour. Although, maybe if you factor in the Drake.
You missed the end.
You missed the end. Faker come and got the ace.
Okay, I was talking to Sebastian.
Not the ace. The 3-for-2 exchange.
3-for-2.
He got another double kill on top of everything
if you factor
else.
in the Drake, then I suppose that's a fairly even trade at the end of the day. If you do factor
3-for-2 and Drake.
3-for-2 plus Drake. SKT coming out huge once again, and that's just Faker again, cleaning up after the initial fight is over. And I agree with what you said. Piglet switched targets a bit too early. I think he was already counting on Lulu being dead, but she had the shield at the last split second, so she survived even longer. So Cyanide was able to kill off Piglet, but it's just not enough.
Nope. It definitely was not.
Once again, they try to get Faker, he gets out, comes back to haunt them.
So we
time now for day 4. We have Fire versus Ice, 2 versus 2s on day 4. Obviously, 2 versus 2 format. It's well, I mean, it's a change in pace, isn't it?
Well, first we had 2 1v1s, and that pretty much evened out the score after the 2v2. Those 2 first 1v1s were close, good games, but the main focus lied on this game. We had Double Lift and MedLife, the newfound couple, the newfound love, against Diamond and Bjergsen, a composition you don't usually see together. And they had fun. I mean, like, both on themed skins and with great trades here. I personally love 2v2 and 1v1, especially on Holding Abyss.
I just like the way that Mad Life decided to stay in there. I mean, Double Lift just exchanging like a heavyweight boxer, and that enabled the double kill here, which you see.
And this almost.
In fact, sorry, it wasn't a double actually. No, the double was later on actually.
Trade.
Yeah, the double was later on.
There was no double.
Really?
Yeah.
No.
Which
But
game
it's
am I thinking of?
Stun combo is amazing.
Yeah. Focusing MedLife, Diamond getting away for the second time with under 100 HP.
Just superior on brand, I guess.
Yep, and the funny thing was the combination of an 80 Branny.
80 Branny.
I've now coined a new term. It's 80 Branny for the next
it's 2
2v2.
champs, Brand and Annie, 80 Branny.
Yeah, and
Sounds
both
good.
of them played with AD, first with the red elixirs, and then the Dorn's Blade from Brand kept him alive in that last fight. That's the only reason he survived everything, because the Dorn's Blade gave him back a little bit of HP, which is so close, but it's so good, and that's just what made the win all the better.
Definitely. And with that, the scores were even, and we came on the highlight match of the day, Froggen against Wei Zhao.
1v1. Let's take a look at it right now, because this, for my money, this just screamed of class. This was an engagement between 2 super high caliber players. At the end of the day, I think Froggen, you know, he does have that sort of that mystique about him, really. I mean, who out there plays the same game as Froggen? There's nobody who plays like Froggen. His Anivia, you know, like I say, it's just nothing short of spectacular.
This time on Yasuo. I was pretty surprised, especially by the pick of Wei Zhao. I did not expect him to pick J4. I expected him to pick some ranged AD carry, or maybe even an AP champ with good poke in addition to 80 auto hits on range.
I mean, even if you land the standard, what are you possibly going to hope to achieve against Yasuo at that point? No, it's
Well,
okay. You're going to reduce his armor a
Yasuo.
little bit, but you're not going to be really in a position where your base damage is high enough to engage in an honest 1 versus 1
Now
fight.
he gets to level 6, instantly goes in. Like, Froggen is so good with that. He knew he had the experience advantage. As soon as he gets level 6, he goes in. And now Wei Zhao is forced to back, and that costs him the game.
And as you can see, Froggen not even concerned about the kill here. He's just more concerned about lane pressure, which is obviously in a 1v1 like this, very important.
He wanted to get the tower. He even uses the blue trinket to get vision over Wei Zhao to be sure that he's backing, push the tower, kill the tower, and the game.
Yeah.
Perfect. And item-wise, he was so ahead. 2 Dorans against a longsword and a mana pot. Nothing Wei Zhao could have done.
Yeah, I mean, when you factor in the higher base damage as well, just, you know, yeah, Wei Zhao was on the back foot from pretty much the get-go. That first tier 1 fell just with the first push. I mean, Froggen obviously proving that he is, you know, at the end of the day, well, more than capable of holding his own against anybody in the scene. I would like to see more of the 1 versus 1, to be perfectly honest. I mean,
Definitely.
They do prove, you know, at the end of the day, who is a better individual player.
To see international all-stars play against each other, maybe make some show matches or international tournaments just to see who's the best at what champion, and to
I mean, we had the whole
time.
North America Lee Sin tournament stuff, you know, best Lee Sin NA. That was actually really fun to watch. I enjoyed watching that back in the day.
And if we had the chance to keep playing those tournaments on the 1v1 map, on the Howling Abyss with these settings, I think that could be really, really cool also in the future. Best Riven NA, best Lee Sin NA. Make the whole thing for a US as well. Maybe add in more champions. Yasuo against Yasuo could be interesting. Now Braum against Braum could be interesting.
Kate against Kate.
Caitlyn against Caitlyn is kind of boring.
That would be brutal, let's be honest. So, with the 1v1s now out of the way, let's take a look at the final game from day 4. That was SKT versus OMG. And my God, best of 3, what a game it was. I mean,
best of 5, theoretically.
Well, best of 5, but we only saw the 3 maps played, obviously.
Well, we saw the best 3 games there were. Early advantage here. Xiang on Syndra once again being a beast. Good trade early on, but no kills.
I mean, this just shows you the Asian scene with that back and forth action, doesn't it? I mean, it's all about the engagement and the ability to disengage. It's about knowing when you should be disengaging. It's about knowing when you should be engaging. It's that understanding of mechanics at the end of the day. And both of these teams, all 10 guys who actually played, have that just innate knowledge that basically they can look at any situation, sum it up, and realize what is the best course of action.
In
And
a
we saw
split
that time and time again, didn't we?
In a split second, that's the thing. They react super fast, adapt to situations where we Europeans were like, so, okay, he's doing, okay, now
So
I
what's
got
he
it. And they're
carrying?
like,
Can I win this fight? Oh, I'm dead. Oh dear. Whereas, yeah, at that level of play, I mean, as we saw, you have to be able to, you have to be, on the ball.
Yeah, and Xiang flashes away, is on the ball instantly with a counter stun. Now we see at 7 minutes into the game,
Oh,
it's
I
still
love
0-0,
that
and then
scene.
Going goes in, and Impact is just so ridiculous with the jumps all over the place.
I love to see
that
it.
lead,
It's a
man.
little longer, to be honest. And to see Impact play this perfectly, his mechanics, going here, using the slice and dice to get to a golem and then chase off the Impact, being out of range.
Did you notice what Impact actually did, though? He cut the corner. So even when Going went for slice and dice to cut the angle, he was on the wrong angle at the end of slice and dice.
And now, this outplay.
This is so ridiculous.
This is so ridiculous.
And then he gets the execute now to the tower, giving no gold to Going. He only gets a little bit of experience.
Not only that,
but
he,
wasted so much time.
realised that he was going to give up the kill if he didn't flash.
Exactly.
So he burned the summoner just to get under the tower to give up the actual, the kill without any benefit for.
At the last split second
chase.
too. Like the
Yeah.
Q from
I mean,
Renekton
it
was mid-animation and
Exactly,
he still
yeah.
managed to flash
He
out.
realised that I kind of want to try and save my summoner here, but if you're going to force me, okay, flash.
And at the same time, he bought so much time. He forced the enemy jungle to follow him. There were 2 guys on his tails. Pantheon was cutting the top end and just perfect positioning. Perfect positioning here, not really for Alan. You might argue he baited, so the rest of the team could go in. I like what Pumelo does here, forcing, not Pumelo, Pumandu, forcing Pumelo to the back. But Syndra is just insanely strong. Chiang, the best Syndra I've ever seen, to be honest.
But we can see even after that team fight, SKT was ahead in gold. They were down in kills, ahead in gold. They had the better objective control, and we can see it once again. They're 4 kills down, even in gold this time around.
I mean, it's not just that, the farm was in the right places as well for SKT.
And this is
that's
just
my-
a beast, Baron. You have only 2 guys in the pit. The rest are only waiting for an opportunity to come in to engage in a team fight. And
Anybody else I would point out that is, usually a horrendous mistake to make, but with SKT, they had that time to decide.
Definitely.
They knew what damage they could put on Baron. They knew that was a safe pickup. They knew it could be sketchy, but with great risk comes great reward at the end of the day.
They knew exactly where Sun was. Sun was stealth, but they not only hit the Dark Binding, but also more damage from Orianna. And Sun just doesn't stand a chance. Binding after binding after binding gets taken out. Now comes the cleanup. That's going to be the ace in the end. SKT turning it all around.
I mean, at this point, once you give SKT that sort of room for manoeuvre, they are going to punish you, and we saw it over and over again. Where they would split that line, they would just decimate once it turned into a series of 1 versus 1 engagements. That's indicative of a team that knows how to break up a formation. Now, as we can see here, we see the top lane being pushed quite hard by SKT. They obviously have a distinct advantage on gold at this point. 87 plays 76, so you're looking at just over 10k advantage on gold, but it's where the gold is. I mean, the gold is in the correct place at this point. Faker, obviously fully stacked pretty much.
Great
As you can see,
Zhonya's.
beautiful Zhonya's. I mean, most people will wait till the very last second for that Zhonya's, but he drew them in deep with that. We see a second Zhonya's going down from Pumandu. This is really the final nail in the coffin. Those 2 Zhonya's set up this pressure here on Going. Alan and Pumandu were, Pumelo I should say, not Pumandu, were just forced out of the line really, weren't they?
Definitely.
They couldn't hold at that point.
They won all lanes at the superior jungle. Great positioning, and even if they fell behind in kills due to pickoffs, they had the objective. They had the superior form by far. And then when it came down to real team fights, they were on their game. There was no question who's going to win this team fight. It's
I mean,
like,
the scary thing is, at the end of the
we're gonna
day,
do a thing
they were the ones, dictating the pace. And if you let SKT dictate the pace, you better believe they're going to start a steamroller. And at that point, they're going to crush you. So we're going to move into game 2 now. This is obviously now with a 1-0 lead in favour of SKT.
And this time, they banned Syndra. They saw her in the first game. Shen was just too good on her.
Now look at Trundle. The communication of SKT is so good. Trundle is moving so early and is there just in time to put down the Perla. Once again, SKT with an easy kill. And after that, they took complete control of OMG's jungle. That SKT can just walk in here together with Twisted Fate and Bengi is just ridiculous. You can't let that happen.
I mean, Going did a good job of actually, getting out of the stun card, but as you can see, Pumandu, I should say, showing up at that point, kind of sealed the fate, didn't it? I mean, the second that the third guy showed up, it's like, oh, well, you know what?
Yeah,
got no
sure
way
did.
out of this.
And in the end, they gave up 2 kills. They tried to save one and instead gave up 1 more kill. And this time, SKT looked like a very different team to the first time.
The problem is whenever you play against SKT, it's like, do you want the death of 1,000 paper cuts, or do you want just your head lobbed straight off? You know what I mean? Because if you engage with them on their terms, they're going to crush you. If you make them engage on your terms by playing passive, well, they'll chip away and they'll poke and they'll just take objectives from under your own nose.
But the most important thing was in the early game, Bengi ganked mid lane so often. They wanted to keep Xiang small, not let him farm, not let him get into his game, get the items. Lulu without items is pretty much worthless.
Yeah.
So Faker won the lane, then came to the other lanes with the ult. I mean, like Twisted Fate being fed already and then started ganking. It's really, really scary. And there goes Ellen. It's the 3rd game. No.
Nope, this is still the second one.
Still the second one.
Impact
yeah.
survives everything. They've just used so many resources. They've got 5 guys top to try and take out Impact,
There's
and he
the taunt.
didn't even lose health.
I was going to say, he even had enough time to like Sebastian pointed out, to actually throw the taunt there. And here we go. It's good Grand Skyfall. This does manage to get Bengi out of position.
But now he
But
jumps
obviously-
over.
Yeah, I was going to say, obviously, you got the passive
So
there.
ridiculous. And then they have to use 2 more ultimates to finally get the kill on him. And that just gives the rest of SKT the chance again to ghost on Faker just to get him out of trouble a little bit. Then they can turn it all around.
And great poke. He knew he was gonna get the card on Sam.
God, Piglet.
It's just perfect.
And Piglet getting 2 kills out of that engagement is just, again, indicative of a team that know that it's not always just about keeping the AD carry alive. If he can get 2 kills, that's a good trade, 2 for 1. It then enables the turn on the actual team fight. That's what we saw.
I love that kill. Trundle chasing the enemy with a bomb of Zillion. It's just like, yeah, I'm not gonna auto take him, just gonna walk by. It's like a drive-by kill.
It's the drive-by kill. The definition of a drive-by kill doesn't have to do anything, and the enemy just goes down. So, really like what SKT did there. Like they were 4 versus 5 in that engage, but because of everything they'd made the enemy team spend, they could still win the fight.
Yeah, that's
You
the
know,
thing. It's the in-game awareness. I mean, they know what's on cooldown. They know what's coming back up when. They know
Once
when they have the
they're ahead.
advantage.
And once again, OMG tries to get the pick onto Twitch. They use so much, don't get him. And after that, the fight's
Positioning by
lost.
Faker.
Yeah.
He just comes in from the back, picks off San. There's nothing he can do. Then one shot Lulu. Kind of a kiting here between Gogoing and him. He uses the ghost to stay on top. Then the rest of the team comes in. It's just clean up. And then the easy finish.
I mean, that was the ace secured, and really from that point forward, it was kind of a full-blown conclusion, wasn't it?
Definitely. Faker on Twisted Fate is the thing that I'm really, really afraid of. I mean, like, I'm generally afraid of Faker because I can't compete with him skill-wise, but if I see his superior farming, like, even if he gets behind in kills, he's always perfect in farming and harassing his lane. Only the jungler can pretty much lose the lane for him. And farming with Twisted Fate, the new passive, is broken. To be honest, I think it's broken.
On somebody like Faker it is. On somebody like Faker. Me playing Twisted Fate, probably just about right, but you've got to kind of balance that level of play as well, and I think at the moment, yeah, he is a little bit OP perhaps. So let's move on to game 3 here, obviously 2-0 to SKT. They have a dominant lead here. OMG, well, they're kind of getting beaten like a government mule at this point. I mean, at what point does despondency become an issue? Because you've just lost 2-0, and it's the second game was convincing to say the least. The first game had its moments for OMG. The second game, however, did not. At what point do they become despondent and do the heads drop? Because I mean, we did start to see it in the third game, didn't we?
Definitely. Well, the Asian teams, they said something like, "We're not used to playing best of 5s." They usually play only best of 3 at most, and this forces them to have more compositions to put out the last technique they got to actually get anything, and they really struggled with that. SKT just knew what to ban, what to pick to take them out pre-game, before it even started. And the Mundo pick here, I think, what was out of desperation.
Yeah, I mean, it's falling back on, a couple of patches ago. It's like, well, Mundo was good. Let's just try and use Mundo, I guess. Maybe we can get a couple of good cleavers that land. Maybe we can then turn that into some decent lane pressure and get top fed. But it really didn't happen for them, did it?
And Faker got Syndra. He showed Xiao how you play a Syndra.
Yeah, I mean,
look at that. It's just ridiculous. And again, Faker demonstrating his champion pool. We saw him on so many different champions throughout the tournament. Even on the Syndra against the Orianna, which we saw in the first game. and he just completely dominated this time.
I will say one thing we haven't really put a lot of emphasis on so far. It's Bengi's Lee Sin play. I mean, obviously Lee Sin, there's one name that's synonymous with Lee Sin. I'm not going to beat him to the ground. But his safeguards were absolutely clutch. I mean, that was, and usually aimed right at Faker as well. That was part of the reason that he could put the pressure on that he could do when he actually committed to a team fight, that he knew that he had that Lee Sin back up.
And that's why even if your team decides to camp Faker, to try and shut him down, it's never going to work very, very well.
Yeah.
Because Bengi's there the entire time.
I mean, even if Bengi does play a support role, to come in and support Faker on mid, it's not even like that's needed. I mean, what's going to happen at that point is that Faker's still going to establish dominance over his lane.
Yeah.
In a 2-on-1 where he's getting ganked constantly, like you pointed out, maybe I think it was during day 3, he will at the very least go even.
Yeah. And
so,
that's what
I mean,
Faker does.
how do you come out? And there's absolutely no way of winning that situation, is there?
Not really. I mean, there's more ganking. That's an option, but then you rely on the rest of your team doing
yeah,
well.
I was going to say, but then you relieve the pressure on the other lanes at that point.
Exactly.
And that's where SKT start to thrive because, they're not weak anywhere. They don't have any vulnerabilities at all. Now, OMG, as we can see, scouting pretty deep, looking for a vulnerability here, but yeah, they got more chance of, I think, finding a unicorn than finding an SKT vulnerability.
Look at Shyvana.
18,000 gold.
Yeah.
Difference.
And Shyvana teleports from the bot lane to mid just to push faster with their team.
So, as you can see, Bengi and Co, well, they managed to push all the way through off the back of this. And this was, well, an impressive finish. I mean, 23-4 against a team such as OMG. If you would have said that to me at the start of the game, that it was going to be a 3-0 scoreline, and the final game was going to be, well, as you can see, 25-4. I think it even finishes 26, is it?
No, it finishes on 25, which is more kills than minutes in the game, which is ridiculous.
Yeah. A 22-minute game at that level is usually showing off people just obliterating each other.
Yeah, I mean, at the end of the day, SKT1 just proving again that they are, leagues above everybody else, if you pardon the pun. They are, I mean, at the end of the day, the be-all, end-all in the scene. For my money, I think, obviously you've got some other Korean teams out there, like, the Nigerian teams and stuff that can give them a game. They are by far the most consistent team for my money, though.
I have to say that this marks a maybe turning point for SKT because the last OGN season they did not perform that well. But
they did look vulnerable in Hot 6 at certain points.
Yeah, it's a question of how they feel. I mean, like, if they're confident about their play. And this All-Star event just gave them the opportunity to get new energy, to show the world that, yeah, even if we're not that good at OGN, we're still top notch.
Yeah, I mean, it's got to be an ego boost at the end of the day. So we saw some great play, day 1, day 2, and day 3. Obviously, we saw all the action, and then the finals on day 4. That's pretty much like, I mean, what you would have hoped for from an all-star event at the end of the day. You couldn't have asked for anything more. So we're going to take a brief break. We'll be back after this.
Warm welcome back all. Jason Jackins here on behalf of ESGN TV again, joined by Sebastian and Sven. We've just recapped the All-Star event itself. Let's take a look forward though, because we have a great match coming up between KT Rolster and
Not
of course,
coming up, it already happened this
sorry,
week.
sorry, I should say, yeah, already happened obviously. I mean, the game itself was in LLB. A battle of two Korean powerhouses really at the end of the day.
Definitely, it was the third place match, and it's the IEM champions, KT Rolster Bullets, against the recently playing All-Star champ,
Yeah.
SKT T1K. Two teams, top notch, and everybody was kind of curious about how SKT is going to perform after All-Star. I mean, like, they just got back from Europe, back at their place.
Well, they're going to be burnt out was the question that was being
Definitely,
asked. Yeah.
but they convincingly showed in a best-of-5 series that they're back.
And Sven, I mean, obviously, you saw the game yourself, I believe. I mean, it's one of those games where, I mean, the hype going into a game such as that. I mean, if you're one of those 10 players who's in server, you've got to have absolute ice water room for your veins to keep you cool in those situations, haven't you? I mean, you're talking about arguably two of the most recognised teams in the world. Okay, it's an NLB. It's not, you know, the top level of Korean play, but you would have to argue that those are arguably the two top Korean teams.
Exactly. Yeah, I mean, KTB have really slacked off in the last season of OGN as well. So they're not in OGN as well anymore, like SKT. Instead, they're both playing in NLB. And this time around, losing 0-3 then to the SKT team must be really demoralizing. Like, to get stomped that way.
How would you think they cope with that as a unit? Because, I mean, obviously they have good team chemistry. They've been together for a long time now, but I mean, at what point did they start looking at that roster and start thinking, maybe we need to make some changes here?
Especially in Korea, where every loss has a huge impact on your career as well, because it is so important that you do well every single time, because if you don't, go to the backup roster. Once you're there, you have to do really, really well to make it back to the main team. So for KTB to lose that 0-3 against SKT must be demoralizing for them. At the same time, of course, for SKT, we've already talked about it, more boost from All-Stars. This should help them even more. And I'm really looking forward to them playing in the next season.
I certainly am as well. I think it's going to be absolutely awesome. So let's move on now, because we do have, we have some Super Hot Crew news, don't we, Sebastian?
Definitely, we got a new coach for Super Hot Crew, SL. Oh, no, LS.
LS, yep.
Last Shadow. He's been around for a long time in the esports scene. He's been a top-notch StarCraft 2 player and coach, then moved to Samsung Ozone. Performed really well as a coach, as a trainer more or less, and now he's back in Europe.
I mean, this is the thing. A lot of people, I have seen some naysayers about this. I did have a look around, and you know, a lot of people out there in internet land saying like, oh, what does he really know? He's not coming from the scene, so on and so forth. That, for my money, is just an absolute, you know, fallacy. You don't have to be a LoL player to be able to provide analysis on, you know, what the team is doing right and wrong. I mean,
when you get a LoL player. Ask Sven. He is a LoL player. He knows.
He's Diamond 1 in Korea. Admittedly, LS still has a very good understanding of the chance.
Diamond 1 isn't, you wouldn't say
but in
Diamond
Korea,
1 is like
in Korea, it's like...
But in Korea.
I will say this, from talking to people about the Korean solo queue, from talking to Phantom Lord especially, he said that it's kind of the same level of play right up to the point of the top echelon, the top 2%, and then you find, you know, the real tryhards in Korea. So I don't ever put that much stock into Diamond 1 Korea, but what I will say is that he has a proven track record in different scenes. He has the connections as well. He's going to be, I think, a good asset for Super Hot Crew at the end of the day.
He's an entity known in esports, StarCraft 2 and now League of Legends. He knows more about the whole scene and not only the game.
Yeah.
So he's an all-rounder kind of when it comes to esports training, to coaching a team, being there for analysis and everything. So I think it's a great opportunity for Super Hot Crew to improve their game, to step up and once again be an LCS.
Yeah, I mean, a prime example is somebody who's got the same setup as Dignitas. I mean, Odie does a great job of just overseeing the guys at Dignitas. Doesn't offer them any in-game advice, obviously, because he's not really a player. But what he does offer them advice on is, you know, things like to do with real life and stuff like that, which at the end of the day, are just as important to a pro player. If you can't keep your ducks in a row in your real life, how are you expected to put the hours in when it comes to actually playing?
Well,
So
that's a great thing about gaming houses, which got popular in Korea first of all, in StarCraft, then moved over to the League scene, that you have trainers and coaches for every aspect of your life. not only training like League of Legends, not only coaching,
Personal trainer.
but a personal trainer when it comes to health, when it comes to your family and relations and everything. So if you have worries, there's always somebody there for you.
And that's exactly what LS is hoping to do, I'd imagine. So with that news now out of the way, obviously Super Hot Crew looking on the upswing. I mean, let's just talk briefly more about the event itself, because that event, I mean, I'll tell you what we didn't touch on. We didn't touch on the crowd. How just electrified were that crowd for the All-Stars event? They were absolutely just phenomenal, weren't they?
And I dare claim that they were the best crowd to date at any League of Legends event. They were so loud.
Yeah, I mean,
and the big
you
thing
could even
about
go
them
as far as to say perhaps at any esports event. I mean, I know that's a big push because you've got a lot of great StarCraft.
I've been to Katowice, and I have to say, especially the
Pro.
Counter-Strike finals, I've been standing in the crowd, and I was kind of not so sure about Virtus Pro stepping up again against NIP, but the crowd was, as they said, it was a 6-player.
Yeah, they kind of dragged them kicking and screaming to it. But this I will say about that crowd, I wouldn't say they were partisan by any stretch of the imagination when anyone else was playing. That Parisian crowd for the All-Stars, though, everything, they went absolutely just I can't use the term that I want to use because it would be crass, but they went completely mental. I mean, just
definitely
everything that was going on.
I remember during the 1v1 matches, they started cheering for every single CS. For every minion that got killed, they was like, yeah, good job. Like, no matter which player took it, it's just like, you're great guys. We chose you to be there, and we're really happy to see you perform that well.
And I think even more important than just cheering for your team was you noticed them cheering for everyone. It was never an isolated case, despite the event being in France, where, you know, Fnatic would theoretically be the home team. No matter what team played, if there was a good play, it was honored. Yeah. And I think that is definitely a huge step in the direction that we want to go in as an e-sport.
Completely agree.
You just talked about Fnatic not performing that well. I heard Reckless, he wrote a kind of an article, almost a book, to be honest, stating how the whole event went for him and revealing their weaknesses. I personally am not so sure whether LCS EU can ever compete with the Korean scene, but the insights that he gave us were really good. I mean, like, you can see it here.
Yeah, I mean, there's his quote. I'm gonna paraphrase it because there is some awkward grammar in there, but I mean, you can see what he's saying basically. It boils down to that he's pointing out that it's not just about individual skill; it's also about the team plays as well. Something that they really did struggle with against SKT and OMG. So
Sven pointed it out. It's Fnatic's strategy overall to have the early laning advantage, to get the kills, and then later move on to objectives. And if you don't have the edge of being better on a personal level,
it's about balance at the end of the day, isn't it? I mean, you can't overemphasize any one aspect of the game. You have to be looking at every possible, you know,
you have to be an all-star and everything.
Exactly, and that's really where they did struggle. So we're going to move on to the Braum spotlight, I believe, in a second here. Obviously, a new champion. A lot of people saying he is the OP. We had a debate about it before whilst I was getting ready. Sven, what are your thoughts on Braum at the moment? You think he's going to be a serious fixture in the competitive scene?
I think so, with the right team composition. It's very important that you make him work properly because he is immensely powerful in any team fight scenario. His passive with the extra stun is huge. On top of that, he's very good at protecting his teammates and at the same time providing additional damage, additional engage potential. Now you have to get to that point. In my opinion, the one phase where you can damage him, where you can really keep him a bit smaller until later in the game is the laning phase. I know we had a little disagreement with that.
We definitely had. I personally, first of all, he has a Poro, which makes him OP either way. And second, his early laning, in my opinion, is really strong. If you have like a caster AD carry like Azriel, for example, Braum goes in, gets the first stack of his passive, does an auto hit, Azriel lands the Q and an auto hit. Like, in this instant, you're stunned.
And you take a lot of burst damage.
And you take a lot of burst damage, and he's just next to you. If he's level 2 or level 3, you can't get away from him. And with Azriel, which is a great combo in my opinion, he can just chase you all over the place, get the first blood, get the early advantage, and then what you gonna do?
Yeah, I mean, just taking a look at his abilities. I mean, the concussive blows once they start to stack as well. As you can see, is it every 4th hit that it stacks for the stun?
Yes, yeah. And it's not only him triggering the stacks, it's everybody. As soon as he lands an ability, every ability or auto hit by teammates adds a stack. You just saw
Okay,
it.
Sven, I'm leaning more towards Sebastian on the OP argument here. I
Oh
think
yeah, he definitely is. I mean, imagine it in a team fight where he tags every single enemy, and then you have the rest of your team tagging everyone else, and you get like 3 people stunned within half a second of one another. It's really, really powerful.
And the thing is,
his
he
Winter's
can,
Bite as well.
he
This
can
is
have,
something that's impressive.
He can have the passive on multiple targets at the same time.
That's
if he
what I'm
lands
saying.
his ultimate, which is like this massive AoE knock up and then slow, and people walking around it, it gives stack to everybody. And if your team just is...
no, it doesn't yet. The ultimate does not apply your passive.
Not the ultimate?
No.
Oh.
The ultimate doesn't. It's only the Q. That's the only ability that can apply his passive. So if you hit someone with that, that's going to be the opener you want. You use Q, then auto hit them once, and then your AD carry comes in, does the last 2 hits. But that's really easy to do, and especially in a big messy team fight. You just hit every single enemy once and rely on your team to then get the stuns.
Definitely.
It's so easy.
Now,
to do.
here's what I think is perhaps the most OP portion of the
jump.
champion, the jump. Just the fact that you can get in and just completely cock block anything that's coming that way with just one spell as easily
Go
as
over
that.
the wall.
Yeah, and not only that, it's another way
Goes
of engaging
everywhere
against
you
Braum.
want.
It's
Imagine him on the full jump team, like with a Katarina, with an Ahri, with
With a
Lucian
Rengar.
dash, and a Rengar.
With a
He's
Rengar,
gonna be
you're just all over the place.
Worse yet, what happens if you put in a Mumu into that mix? He lands a bandage toss, curse of sad mummy, and then
God.
Braum jumps in and decides to join the party at that point. Then it's how are you ever going to disengage from that? You know what I mean? That's just
And
so
the
much
shield,
slow and control, and
the
then you've got the
next
shield to
thing.
negate the
Yeah.
damage as well, like Sebastian points out.
Yeah, if you have an Ezreal or Caitlyn in the enemy team, you just put up your shield, you block the first spell that comes your way, and only take less damage for the
80%, I
upfolding.
think?
Yeah, 80%
Yeah,
or something like that.
80%.
It's just insane. I personally think he's a great champion when it comes to mechanics and everything, and that you really have to look out when to use the right ability. So it takes some skill to master him. But the kit overall that he has, ability-wise, is perfectly for supporter.
Yeah,
And I think that's the big step Riot has taken in the last months of support development. If you look at Nami, Thresh, and now Braum, they're not especially strong because they do a lot of damage.
I mean,
They're
it
super
started
powerful
at
because of their
season
kit.
3 when you think about it, when they
Yeah.
brought the new trinkets out and
Exactly.
such, because that did take emphasis off, you know, that one role that you had to always fulfill as support. Now you have some flexibility in there, which is nice to see, and we do see, you know, champions like Braum, they're going to become more and more viable. I mean, that's at the end of the day, it is going to be about control on that bottom line for my money.
And
this
this
is, of
engage
course,
is
is ultimately
huge.
all important. Yeah, I mean that R is absolutely dominant. If that hits, as you can see, it can go across 2 targets at once. The second that happens, that is basically a reset of any team fight, isn't it?
And imagine that comboed with a Yasuo. It's another displacement, so Yasuo can go in on that. And the important thing is, after it stays, it slows you down. It's similar to an equalizer in its zoning
Yeah,
potential.
I mean you can see there with the vein trying to pass through it. There's just
Yeah.
absolutely no way of getting through that full speed. So yeah, it's going to be an interesting champion. I hope to see him in the you know, the new meta, because I think he's really going to shake up the bottom line if he
Definitely.
stays the way he is. That is, I mean,
Definitely.
I think he
think
probably will take a nerf though, to be honest.
there's a lot of potential with him, and I have to say, I'm really happy that it's not the only thing that Riot released on Braum. Not only the champ with a cool skin. Personally, I think Dragon Slayer Braum is it's really fancy looking skin. They are defeats. What's it called?
Feats of Braum.
Yeah, that's a interactive game you can play in your browser, and it tells you more about his background. So, like, usually you get the lore in the champ, not really telling you anything if you don't want to read it, which most of the people don't. I personally usually do tend not to, but with Braum, the feats, it's awesome. I loved it. I played it the second it came out. Take a look at it. I mean, like, can we pull it up? I think we can. It looks lovely. The animations and
it's something that Riot has increasingly done with the past couple of champion releases. They've put out teasers, they've put out additional information on their lore, they've added in these little elements that
or
just
even
provide
movies. I mean,
more stuff.
remember Jinx?
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah,
the amount of teasers and the music video.
Yeah,
And this
not only that,
looks
I mean,
so lovely.
you know, Cho'Gath eats the world as well.
Exactly.
Which absolutely swallowed up about 5 or 6 hours of my life when I only intended to play it for like 5 minutes. So they do a good job of like supplementary content, and that's exactly what we see here with Braum. Now at this point, you know, obviously he is arguably a little bit OP. How would you change him to make him perhaps, you know, bring him back in line with other supports? Would you maybe?
Well, Sven pointed it out that his early is kind of weak. So if you focus on giving him less starting HP or increasing his cooldowns, kind of that would help. But you still have the problem of his late. That if he gets the assist, gets the gold due to items and masteries, there's still a easy way for him to get that.
The thing is also, his Q scales off of his maximum HP, which makes him very prone to, I'll just build full tank and deal tons of damage with that. And I think once they tone that scaling down a little bit, it's also going to bring his damage more in line of that support role. And then I think mainly his numbers are going to get tweaked because you can't really change the abilities. And I think also the cooldowns are largely pretty okay. And there are going to be people that figure out how to play around the champion
the fact that he has
well.
2 skill shots, that does somewhat balance it because then it becomes more about your actual mechanics. But yeah, I think a reduction of maybe his base health, just to put him that little bit further behind at the start, that might fix some of the issues. I hope it does because I want to see him, like I say, it offers some interesting options, let's just say that's going to really change that bottom lane meta.
Definitely. And you already talked about tons of damage, Imagine building a Trinity Force on Braum. You jump in, you do double the damage.
Imagine the old Atmos.
Oh,
imagine
Atmos
Season 1
Impaler?
Atmos. Yeah, imagine Season 1 Atmos on something like that. That would be just dominant.
Good old Atmos Impaler.
And
I love that item.
The funny thing is you'll see Braum's play with, full tank, Randuin, Sunfire, Warmogs, and then at a Blade of the Ruin King for more attack speed, so then they can apply their passive quicker. It is so painful to play against something like that. It's really expensive, so few supports will ever get that far, but when they do, you can't really kill him.
The wait.
And he kills you.
50-minute games have just completely changed, basically.
Exactly.
Which is cool.
And this pushes Galio even further out, because the funny thing is, Braum stacks his passive onto Galio, and because he taunts all other enemies, same thing goes for Rammus pretty much, your other teammates will automatically focus that target, so any Galio ultimate will never last more than 1 second.
Yeah. It's kind of brutal when you think about it in those terms.
I love Galio. He's a great champ.
Yeah, but that's why I would like the Braum passive to be disabled on when he's taunted. I don't think it should work then, because a taunt should keep you, incapable of
the whole
doing
point of the taunt is it's supposed to disorientate you. It's supposed to put you out of the fight for the allotted time.
And incapacitate.
And basically make you pointless. I mean, you're more of a hindrance than a help when you're taunted. That's not the case with Braum at this point because, like you pointed out so astutely, the passive is going to be a huge factor for him.
Exactly.
Anyway, we're going to move on to the show match now because that's enough Braum talk.
Oh yeah, the show match. You don't know about it, but we prepared something really cool. Apart from Braum, apart from the feats of Braum, there's one more thing that Riot put out, Pixelporo. And Jay, we got a professional caster here. We got a decent moderator who loves Pong. And we got you. So we two are gonna play Pixelporo on this
should be interesting.
Incredible laptop.
Okay, 2-player obviously.
Yeah, 2-player. You're gonna play.
Do we actually have a feel of the setup? Is this something that we do? Okay, there we go.
Everything is prepared.
Now,
Everything is prepared. Okay. Your controls are K and M,
which is on a German keyboard.
Yeah. No, it's all fine. K you go up, and M you go down. Right, Mine is A and Z. You're gonna be Braum. I'm gonna play Leona.
Okay.
You know how this game works?
Oh, of course.
It's like Pong.
Yeah. Not common.
Best of 3. Sven, you're gonna cast.
I'll do my best.
Let's go for it.
All right, here we are into the game. We see the Pora first going over to Braum, and he gets the first kill. Leona has nothing to offer against that one. Braum really work with a shield, but now it's a 1-to-1. Braum has to work on getting his composure back. He hits the Pora at the very edge of the shield. Is that going to be enough? Leona doing a good job. It's constant back and forth between these two.
I have a feeling that the best of 3 is going to take quite some time here.
Oh my God, Braum! Oh, that was really close. Hitting it with the edge of the shield just barely. Leona always managing. Oh, she misses it.
Oh, no!
Oh, what was that? 3-2, 3-3. Where's this power going?
Oh, I got caught celebrating like an asshole. Let's go.
Can't celebrate for too long in this game. It's going to come back and fight you 4-3 now. For Braum, he clearly has the early game advantage here. Can he close it out? Still needs 6 more points. Leona getting down there. Braum on the wrong map.
Blame the keyboard for that.
Wrong end of the map.
What?
Oh, that was harsh. Oh, it's a 6-5 now. You can't celebrate for even a second. That was close.
I think this is one of the few times that my age has actually helped me when gaming. Because, yeah, me being 29, obviously, it's not like Pong is something that's new to me.
8-5. Braum here with the upper hand.
The trick is you got to hit the right angle. Oh, he says as he concedes a goal.
Yeah, exactly. Depending on the angle that your shields hits the Poro, it's going to change direction on the overall field. 6 to 8. Oh, no chance to
We
catch
play
that
first
one.
to 10, because I think a best of 3 here is going to take entirely too long.
It's 9-6 right now. Oh, there's the 10. You know, you just want that because you won the first one.
Yeah, that's what
You don't
that's
want
what it
him a
is.
chance.
Well,
you don't
I mean,
want
we
a chance
could
for him to
play
come
again, but to be quite honest, I think we'll be flogging a dead horse because you're not that good at it. So.
back. Oh my God.
Okay, we're gonna play some more off camera. I love this game. I highly recommend you to pick it up. It's fun. So much fun. Like, you remember Cho'Gath Eats the World?
Of course it is.
It's just like that, but better.
I've got this horrible feeling that tomorrow is not going to be a particularly productive day for me and you. It's going to be grudge matches all day, so.
Well, you know where my office is.
I certainly do, my friend. And on that note, it is time to bid you adieu. From myself, from Sebastian, and from Sven, and from all the hard-working staff here at ESGN. We would like to catch you on the flip side, so check out the YouTube channel, check out Twitter, all that kind of good stuff. Keep in the loop and keep up to date with ourselves here at ESGN. So once again, goodbye.